Josephine County Republican, everybody. April the 17th, 2026. We got Ben Edtl talking about corruption in Oregon. Little parental discretion advised on this video, though. Ben was telling me, he doesn't have a filter. It comes straight from the heart. If he has a filter, it doesn't really come straight from the heart. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, off we go. I've got Ben Edtl on the air. He is from where are you at? Where you live up in the Portland area, right?
Yeah, I'm in the South Portland Metro in Tualatin, Oregon.
Tualatin, all right. Yeah, I actually lived in Beaverton for 2001, and then I sort of started hitchhiking up or down south here, and I was actually homeless down here in Grants Pass for 8 years. So
Wow.
but I was up in Portland, and I was working at the Intel campus over in Hillsboro, and I worked Fourth and Angel, and got divorced and ended up here. So long hard story, but anyway. So tell me about you. What do you do up there? I mean, I've seen you on X, and you look like you're a fighter, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fighter, for sure, and I just cause trouble, rebel rouse. I mean, that's really the the name of this game. But we're business owners. Like, we have a med spa in the heart of Portland in the Pearl District, which is the business is fantastic, but the Portland's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for business. We got three boys, me and my wife together. I got two stepsons and a bio, and I love them all the same. And we got them in public school, just right on the front lines of communism. I mean, I ran a government agency, 24 to 25, flipped it, turned it around. It was incredible. There's a big story there, but this is like for 6 years, I've been in the fight because in 2020, well, let's go back a little bit just so that there's a little context. In 2018, I took over a bankrupt coffee roastery, little 800 square foot coffee roastery out of Beaverton. Within really 6 months, 4 to 6 months, I had it pretty much turned around. It wasn't like write checks or anything. It was just do the right thing and turn it around. And going into 2020, we had 3 cafes, and our coffee roastery had gone from 800 square feet to 4,600 square feet. And we brought it into the heart of Portland, which is my hometown. And we were operating, multi-unit cafe operation. And then we had this 4,600 square foot coffee roastery out of Southeast Portland that we were pushing coffee from Portland to Vegas. And when 2020 hit, remember Kate Brown gave us 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And I was very concerned, of course, and thought this was an unprecedented violation of civil rights to shut our businesses down and make us wear masks. But I followed her rules for about 14 days, just as she said, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So I did the math on that. I'm like, well, it's 14 days. I'll give her 14 days. But on the 15th day, I said, put the chairs down on the floor, take the signs off the doors, take the stupid fucking tape off the floor so that we can not worry about 6 feet distancing. And I took my mask off and wouldn't wear it and didn't make anybody else wear it. However, at the 40 or so employees that we had, 38 of them were, Antifa, BLM people. And I just had no idea because I didn't know or understand what was really brewing under the surface of that 2020 trigger that was pulled on us. And so I went through the cancel process in 2020. I still wouldn't shut up. I rode down with the ship. We ended up winding things down in November of 2020 because, I would say after, I had a personal crisis and I was down in the middle of the night. I left, my wife was asleep and things were a mess. We were losing everything. There's all these regret about whether I should have just went along with it instead of being obnoxious and taking a stand or putting my flag in the dirt on this and sacrificing our family business and everything we invested in it. And I was in a crisis. I go down to my roastery in the middle of the night and, early morning, like 2, 3 a.m. And I got it. When I got there, I just got on my knees and I said, God, what the fuck do you want me to do? Yeah. And, I don't have any answers. Like, I made all the best decisions I could make. I did the right thing. I followed your orders. You told me to not shut up. Even my wife was like, shut up, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, God's telling me not to. And she's like, you're insane. And so you're destroying our lives. And it's like, I just I got up, threw myself on my knees. I said, God, what the fuck do you want me to do? And God, he got back to me super fast, man, almost immediate. And I knew it's him because it was from here. And he just said, I want you to go into politics. and then I started laughing. I mean, like hysterical. I was totally nuts at that moment because I'm like, if anybody witnessed this, they would put me in a loony bin. And I'm like, because I'm literally, I go from wanting to, put a bullet in my head to cracking up laughing. But the moment he said that, I just thought it was so funny because I'm like, man, I've had 10,000 people this week call me a racist homophobe publicly. I've lost our businesses. I'm on the news being accused of killing people because even though we've never spread COVID or never had COVID at that time, I was like, I'm killing people on the news. I just thought it was hilarious because I'm like, man, politics, like, yeah, this is going really well. My political step has gone really well. And so, but it got real because he's like, no, are you stupid? Can't you see what I'm doing with you right now? Like, you're the one standing up. There's no one else standing up. Like, you're the only one who's saying yes. And this is in Portland. And I'm like, and I'm in a left-wing business, specialty coffee. Like, I've never been in specialty coffee before, but this is a bunch of left-wingers. And so I'm like, and then I had this sense of relief come over me. Like, I don't know, like this sense of protection, a sense that like, okay, I have been doing the right things. Okay, it is really you telling me to do this. And so that's really what led to me going into politics. And so in January 2021, I started Free Oregon. And Free Oregon very quickly became the largest civil rights group in the state of Oregon. And we grew very fast. We raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and within 90 to 120 days, we brought the first lawsuits against the vaccine mandates in Oregon, protecting teachers, medical workers, frontline responders, police officers, and paramedics and all that. And we brought lawsuits both in state court and in federal court. We brought Malcolm Johnson v. Brown, which was the big case that was Stephen Jonkus's first civil rights case in his career. And that was a Nuremberg Code case that we took to federal court on the vaccine mandates. And we financed all these lawsuits. We did everything we possibly could. And that was back when we had people with money in Oregon that would fight and donate. And we lost that. They're gone. They've left. We've had tens of thousands of medical workers leave, tens of thousands of doctors leave. This is not a good state anymore to be in if you're a high earner. So they're leaving, and they left a long time ago. And especially the freedom side, the freedom people, the medical freedom people, they left. We're sort of in this weird place today, but that was really the biggest momentum and the biggest energy that drove my political sort of, I guess, profile. And a lot of people, you'd be really surprised, came out as plumbers and as, like Angela Todd, for example. We were talking about the post that I made last night on X about PDX Real and how the ORP is working with PDX Real. Angela Todd was on my board at Free Oregon. She was a huge part of the growth of Free Oregon. No one knew at that time what was brewing in the background, but she wouldn't have had really a platform if it wasn't for Free Oregon. Free Oregon created leadership positions across our state for a lot of people. We took over, I think it was like 28 of 36 county parties or 35 county parties in Oregon as Free Oregon was growing, and then it came under attack. And Angela Todd tried to take it over, and she went to our lawyer at the time, which was Tyler Smith, and made a false claim that I was misusing funds. And I had 8 to 10 people on our board that had access to the books and the bank accounts, and they had my back. And then Tyler Smith told her to go fuck right off, and so she did. But that was only the first shot of an attack that was attempted to bring down Free Oregon, and she ultimately, that initial attack brought it down. And so the final nail in the coffin was the Buellers, and they helped take it down. They changed the name. They did a bunch of stuff once they got control, which I trusted them and said, you can have control. And they turned it into something called Fight Club, and then it went down to nowhere. Bueller is the chair of the Washington County GOP, and he is works with David Brock-Smith, who I believe is a CCP asset. And these are people that came into politics in that early time after 2020, along with me, that became leaders in our party. And most of those leaders, a lot of those leaders have been flipped to work because they desire a career in politics. They want to be politicians. I have fantasies about being able to go back to normal life. And we have to, like, there's just no way that I can do it. And so it's depressing in a lot of ways, but right now what I'm seeing in Oregon is a resurgence of that energy that we had in 2020 with Free Oregon. I'm seeing this resurgence of people that want to stand up and take action and fight, and they're aiming it in the right place. They're aiming it at the Republicans because it's becoming very apparent. Because I'll tell you this, in 6 years, I have fought thinking that I left that roastery that morning when the sun was up, feeling okay, feeling like God's got it, feeling like, I have a mission in a direction that I can take. And I have fought since that moment to change our state, to fix our state, to turn it around. And in the last 2 to 3 years, it's become apparent that I've never been able to actually attack a Democrat because the Republicans have always prevented me from going further. They've always tried to slow down our effort or destroy our effort and keep it down. And I realize today, and I know this in my heart, deeply in my heart, as a truth that cannot be denied at this point in time, with everything that I've experienced in these 6 years, that we will never turn Oregon around so long as this cabal controls our Republican Party. And we have to get rid of them first. It's like this is our Tea Party calling. This is our Tea Party moment. We have to change our party, and we have to join the national MAGA movement fully and without, any sort of apology. We can't worry about, well, the Democrats think that. I don't care what Democrats think. Donald Trump didn't care what Democrats thought. We need to go out there, tell the truth, have courage, and that courage will be followed. People follow courage, not titles.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. And I mean, and I'm watching it seems like, they've got a super majority, right? But how many people are up there like really, really fighting? I mean, we've got some, but Dwayne Yunker, he was up there really fighting. So, I mean, what do you think he's doing up there right now? I mean, he started off pretty strong and heavy, and now he's got somebody running up against him, Seth Benham down here. So, I mean, any thoughts on that and Dwayne and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dwayne has gone from someone with good motives who wanted to go in there and fix Oregon and stand up for his constituents and do the right thing to, I think I want to just remain a politician. I don't want to lose my seat. I don't want to lose my power. I now see that the caucus controls whether or not I keep my seat. And so I got to do what the caucus says. So I call them caucus suckers.
Yeah, and I saw that on your post.
I was like, yeah, that's funny. That works.
Yeah.
Get your knee pads out and
right.
Do some sucking, because that's exactly what everyone does in Salem. And the caucus leaders are doing that to the Democrats because the Democrats have control and they share the money. So everybody gets their funding if they go along with it. That's why every single one of our bills pretty much that are communist are bipartisan bills, like House Bill 2002. We had a caucus that funded tons of money for the guy Javadi, who then was like, oh, cool, I'll just be a Democrat then. I mean, they're all traitors anyway. So what does it matter? And so we just have a serious fundamental sickness within our party, and it's at the top. And we have to take him out. We have to cut the head off the snake. It's the only way around it. And Dwayne Yunker, I'm sorry, I talked to him. I know him. I think he's a nice guy. I used to have respect for him, but I don't have respect for him anymore, especially after the message he sent me this morning. I just don't have the respect for anybody who's going to stand for nothing, because if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. And that's just the way it goes. And Yunker's falling. Yeah, and the new guy that they're putting in, I'll tell you right now, is going to be worse than Yunker, because he's going to be someone that they've already groomed and know to be a most likely a narcissist who is going to do and say whatever he needs to do and say, but he's going to stab everybody in Josephine County straight in the neck.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
That's what's going to happen if he wins.
Yeah.
So you got Yunker or you got even worse. These are our choices, and these are our choices for governor, and these are our choices right now because we don't have an apparatus at the top that's feeding and nurturing and developing real leaders with integrity who have true beliefs that they don't have to worry about what they said yesterday or who they took money from today. It's this is what we stand for. This is what we're going to do, and we go and do it. Promises kept, promises made, promises kept.
Yep.
It's Trump is laying out the new paradigm for what our political leaders need to be going forward.
So, and you were talking about on X, you were looking at this Project Democracy PAC. So tell me about them and what's that all about?
Well, these guys are so slick. They go, let's create a PAC called Project Democracy because it'll make Democrats think that we're Democrats. Actually, here's the truth of the matter. Everybody believes they're Democrats anyways.
Yeah, you know,
like if you look at your voting record, if you look at the caucus voting record, they're Democrats. What are they? How are they not? Tell me how they're not. No one can tell. They say great floor speeches. I mean, look, you got Edtl, who's literally passing around an issue petition called Let Us Paddle to remove the paddleboard tax. That dumb motherfucker voted in favor to pass the tax. Like, people need to wake up. They don't understand what's going on. I'm going to vote yes on a bill. Then I'm going to sponsor the referendum so I can get attention and raise money and get your voter data. That's crazy to me. This is so over the top bad. All of this is just terrible. Yeah.
And you know, I was looking at that Project Democracy PAC and I looked at their email address and it says financialpeacebookkeeping.com. And that sounded familiar. And actually we had a recall of 2 commissioners here just late last year. And I was looking at their PAC, the Restore Joe Co. PAC, which is who recalled the 2 commissioners. And there it is, Financial Peace Bookkeeping, multiple times in their PAC, trying to recall commissioners. I don't know what the funds were for, but it's just weird. I saw that data and I was like, wait a minute, what? So yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that. That's pretty crazy stuff.
Well, what it is it's the Iversons. so
who are they?
Who are they? Okay, that's a really good. Do you know who they are? Or
no, not at all.
Okay, great. Because you mentioned before we went live that you've been fighting this fight for about a year. So
yeah.
I've been around 6 years. Hardly institutional knowledge, okay, but it's crazy. Like I told you before, there's this insurgency of people coming up to step into the fight now that we sort of went through this big phase and then it died because it got crushed. And then we resurged, and now there's this resurgence that we're in. So there's a lot of people that don't even know my history. They're like, Ben Edtl, oh, well, he's got 40,000 followers or so. He must be, he's something, but nobody really knows how that happened. And so I think it's crazy. So a couple years ago, something like that, 2-3 years ago, our House minority leader's name was Vicky Brees Iverson. And Vicky Brees Iverson had to step down because her husband is a political operative who runs essentially a campaign management company. And that campaign management company also works very closely with Trader Tim Knope. Do you know who Tim Knope is?
Nope. Don't know that one either. Sorry,
okay,
I'm kind of young to this.
We call him Trader Tim because Trader Tim, this is due to the walkout we had over House Bill 2002. And House Bill 2002 from 2023 was taxpayer-funded sex changes for minors without parental consent.
Geez. Wow.
Okay.
Crazy.
That was also a bipartisan bill. So they walked out on that bill. But here's the problem: there was a bill that was passed prior in that legislative session, in the long session, in which the first law of its kind passed in the entire nation, where if a legislator has 10 or more inexcused absences, and the excuser or the inexcuser is the Senate president, so the Senate president can say, you weren't here today, unexcused, and you get 10 of those, you can't hold a seat in the next term, in the following term. Okay?
Crazy. Yeah.
So if Republicans walk out, and they did this because Republicans had enough power. They didn't have a supermajority this time. They just were under a minority. And they had enough power to hold a walkout and prevent a bill from being passed. So that's what they did on House Bill 2002. 10 of our top senators who would actually put up a fight, who would actually stand up in front of the Democrat truck and get run over if they have to be speed bump for you. They would do it for you and me. Those 10 senators went out and got their 10 absences over House Bill 2002, knowing that they would not be able to keep their terms in the following term. That means even if they ran and got elected, state law says, nope, you can't keep a seat.
Wow.
So you have to wait a term before you can come back. So they sacrificed their entire political careers. It's something that Dwayne Younker's unwilling to do. But these 10 senators sacrificed their careers. And one of those senators is, oh my gosh, Robinson, Noah Robinson's father.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why Noah ran, because his father was in the walkout and he was a good man. And so one of the things that happened before House Bill 2002, but back to Trader Tim and the walkout. What happened is that after all these senators had gained 10 unexcused absences, they could no longer hold their following term. Tim Knopp and David Brock Smith walked back in to make a quorum so they could pass the bill.
Jeez, oh, that's wild.
It gets worse. It gets worse. At that time, I said in public statements on X that Tim Knopp was paid off. And at the time, the rumor was that he was going to get a position on the lottery board. That Kotek was going to pay him with a lifetime commission on the lottery board, which is a $250,000 a year salary with PERS for life. And that's what we heard. But I didn't know if that was true. So I said, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I heard. And I put it out there. But guess what happened? Recently, within the last few months, Tina Kotek appointed Tim Knopp to be the director of the new agency that she created under executive branch, the whatever of prosperity, the agency of the prosperity czar, or the agency of prosperity. I can't remember the exact name of it. My brain's kind of going crappy on me, but it's the prosperity agency. And it's a bunch of bullshit. And Tim Knopp is getting $250,000 a year, and he's going to have PERS for life. If he can stay there for 3 years, he can retire with PERS for life.
Jeez.
$250,000 a year. That's his payoff. So we call him Trader Tim. His son is named Reagan Knopp. Reagan Knopp has taken lots and lots and lots of taxpayer dollars into his NGO that is his dad's made sure he's been able to get for voting on Democrat bills. A lot of times they'll give you $2 million a year to spend in your own district. And what do? They feed their own NGOs, like David Brocksmith, for example, who I believe is a CCP agent. He's taken tax dollars and put it into his Southern Oregon's Children's Foundation, and which he draws a CEO salary. And so not only are you paying David Brocksmith the $40,000 a year, whatever, the 60 it is to be a senator, you're also paying for his CEO salary at the Southern Oregon Children's Foundation, which we don't even know if it actually even exists.
Wow.
So these guys are all one party. When people say Rhino, I think it doesn't do it justice. When people say Uniparty, I think it doesn't do it justice. I think we switched the word out Uniparty to communist. And Rhino, you switch that out to communist.
Yep.
And then the Democrats, you also call them communist, because that's what they are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and really the whole government, I mean, they just want you to be dumb, broke, and disarmed. I mean,
dumb, broke, and disarmed.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're after, right? I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, they don't want us to know anything. They don't want us to talk about it. They don't want us to stand up like you're doing. So, I mean, the NGOs are like kind of the cartel, right?
No, the cartel is still the cartel.
Yeah.
And the cartel has tremendous influence over Oregon politicians and Oregon's government. In fact, I believe that both caucuses from both parties in the legislature are totally controlled by the cartel. And the cartel, meaning the South American cartel, also China. David Brocksmith, we fought against him in 2024. And he threatened to sue me, and then he went to the media saying he was going to sue me for defamation. But I told him to go ahead and fucking sue me, because I'm telling the truth and I got the receipts, so have at it. We put the receipts out at rucpac.org/DBS. So rucpac.org/DBS. Go look at it. Every receipt is there. His voting record, which is abysmal. It's a China-driven voting record. He was the sponsor for the 10-cent bag tax. He tried to put windmills off the coast of Coos Bay. We have all these videos of him like smiling and laughing with Tina Kotek and other prominent Democrats, talking about how much money they're going to get from the Biden administration.
Wow.
All those videos are there. And he also gave away the Elliott State Forest that used to be owned by the taxpayers, which we could log and we can have training for forestry and things like that. He gave it to Oregon State University, and then they shut down logging right away and training for logging. And that was devastating to Southern Oregon. We also had, he was also voted in favor of the wildfire mapping bill, which forced many rural homeowners out of their homes because they couldn't get insured and their mortgages would be shut down. Like, can't insure it, we can't keep the mortgage, right? So that was a horrific bill. That just to start a few, there's a ton of structural bills, because the way this works, same thing with our elections, is that over 10 years time, over 3 years time, over 5 years time, over 20 years time, legislation is pieced together to create a larger, more devastating, more overbearing, more tyrannical situation relating to the subject. Okay. So he's done a lot of those bills, which you put together with other bills, and it's devastating to our economy, devastating to our power as people, devastating to our rights.
And meanwhile, everybody's worried about climate change. And we don't have a climate crisis. We have a corruption crisis.
We have, yeah, where'd you get that?
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of what I'm seeing, you know,
Totally
it's
true.
like, so, I mean, what can we do down here in Josephine County? What can we do to help?
I think the most important thing you can do is, you know, make sure that people there's a lot of things we have to do, but in Josephine County, I think it's very important that you guys understand the truth. I think that's fundamental. That's step one. Know what's going on. Politics is I've been in a lot of industries. Politics is the most challenging because you can't see who's attacking you. And every time you get a layer, you peel a layer out, you think you got it, you don't got it. Even me and everything that I'm telling you right now, there's other layers that run deeper. So I'm on you got to be like a hound dog, and you got to go, what does that look like? You know, what does that look like? You can't listen to what they say. What they say has to be, you know, ignored. You have to look at what they do when it comes down to whether you're supporting a political leader or not. Look at what they do, and what they do, and the outcomes are critical to measure. We have to do that. We need people to run, fly planes into the battleship, run for office, challenge seats. We need to get IP37 on the ballot. We need signatures to get IP37 on the ballot. We know we can't vote our way out of a rigged election system, but we can put it on the ballot, and we can force the conversation, which will ultimately wake more and more people up. I don't want to end up on the West Coast like Lithuania in the 80s, where the government is shooting people with live rounds in the street because too many people were too slow to wake up. That is a very good possibility that we face that on the West Coast in the next 5 years. We have to prevent the fissuring of our nation. The Oregon, Washington, and California are making moves unilaterally and together. I mean, as a group, unilaterally from the United States. Our First Amendment rights have been destroyed. Our Second Amendment rights have been destroyed. Our Fifth Amendment rights have been destroyed. And our 14th Amendment rights have been destroyed, and more have been destroyed. And that's what they're doing. So when you see 3 states get together in 2020, sign a pact called the West Coast State Pact to violate the rights of their citizens, their American citizens, together in unison, that hasn't happened since prior to the Civil War, when the Southern states seceded to maintain slavery in violation of our United States Constitution. We have an insurrection. We're surrounded by an insurrection. The 3 states that we live in on the West Coast are I believe, in an active insurrection. Digitally through our ballot machines and our voting system, and also legally in an insurrection because it is refusing to follow the federal laws that protect us, the citizens. And so it's a dangerous time that we're in. And so I think that people need to understand that this is serious, that, yeah, you got shit going on in your life, but you're going to have to set some of it down. We need your help. You have to join us. You can't be afraid. You have to have courage, and you have to step up. You have to go get 10 signatures on an IP37 sheet. You have to go out and say, you know what? I think that this guy's wrong. I'm going to call my senator or my state rep, Dwayne Yunker, and I'm going to say, Dwayne, you gotta get tougher. You gotta pick a side. Because look, if Dwayne doesn't pick a side now, he's going to end up like James Hebe. And James Hebe in 2024 was trying to stand up for the people, but he was also being intimidated by the caucus. And so the caucus knew what was in his heart. And so they knew they had to replace him either way. And I think that's where we are with Dwayne. They know he has a good heart, because I know he has a good heart, because I know him. He has a good heart.
Yeah.
But he's trying to play a game that he's not going to win. They already know he has a good heart. There's no taking that back. They're going to replace him. They're going to fix the election to replace him. And I can tell you this is true, because when I was the CEO at Umpqua Public Transit, I became the very first, and this is 2025, in the May special election, I became the very first government official to refuse to certify an election. And that led to Von V. Loomis. And this is Dan Loomis, David Brock Smith, Virgil Osborne, all these guys down here in Douglas County, just north of you. And they're stealing elections, and we caught them. We're going to trial. We defeated 8 attempts to dismiss that case. It's the first election case in state history like this. We've received 80,000 documents. They still won't provide 15 of the 19 requests that we've gotten, and the judges recently told them, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't provide the data. They're still trying to prevent data, but the data that we have found, it's already been discussed publicly in court. We found enough shenanigans to prove without question that that election was stolen from Todd Vaughn as a board member of the Umpqua Public Transit District. And that is a 78% Republican county in which the senator is a CCP asset, David Brock Smith. He's also the deputy minority leader, and he's also running for U.S. Senate. So we need to understand what's going on, and we need to understand that, that yes, they may steal that election from Dwayne Yunker right here in a month from now. But if he alienates the people that support him by not standing for anything and trying to play it safe, his political career will be over, because he will have no support ever again. Yeah. We need to stand for something, or we're going to fall for anything. And that's what it comes down to. We need to get rid of all the leadership at the ORP besides Dave Brown. He's the only one who's good. The rest of them are all corrupted. They're evil, and they're clueless. Yeah, and we got to fix it.
I seen that when you posted that on X. You were showing like a paper trail here, and I'm looking at it right now. All these funds going into PDX Real Media. I mean, so what is that all about? What's happening there? I mean, it's pretty crazy. I'm just kind of confused as to what do you see happening here?
Well, what I see happening is that bad people, inherently sick bad people, are willing to say and do whatever is needed to say and do to achieve something that they want. And so those are the best people. Like, I was talking to a guy and I'll tell you about PDX Real in a second, but I was talking to a guy who did background checks for the Republican, used to do it a long time ago for the congressional caucus, for the Republican congressional caucus. And he said it was the craziest thing in the world. I would get these background checks. They would say, hey, run background on these 4 people. And he's like, some of them would be okay. Some of them would be like, he's got got picked up for, assault 1 or like, something like, got in a fight or whatever. Like, and then one might have a Dewey. And then there was this, he goes, then there'll be a guy that had that rap sheet, just like theft and Deweys and assaults and like all this crazy shit, accusations of sexual improprieties, things like that, right? And he's like, wow, this guy's bad. And he would send it back and go, this dude right here, whatever the fuck you do, don't work with this guy. And that's the guy they would pick. They'd pick the worst one. because those are the ones you can manipulate. Those are the ones who are willing to do and say whatever they need to do and say, and they work on cleaning up their records. And everybody that's controlling our caucus right now, like David Brock Smith, he has records, he has a past. A lot of them are sealed because they're in Coos County. He controls that county. So the sheriff's closed up records. He was under investigation for 2 years by the FBI for destruction of documents as a commissioner in Coos County. And when that FBI investigation closed, he was appointed to state rep.
Wow.
So you got to understand, like, they go after and select bad people. So what we're up against is some kind of intelligence community cabal, or some kind of foreign interference with our party. And we're never going to defeat the Democrats, who I believe also have that same foreign interference, until we clean up our side. And what happened on the national level is that Trump came in, and you know what he went through. Like, stop for a moment and think about what he's gone through since 2015, 2014 even, all the way through what this dude has put up with, what he's walked through, what he's held up to, and nothing wavered, nothing changed. And he changed the party at the federal level from the top down, and because that's the answer here. And I'm telling you, all these snakes are still laying there ready to go, but he's holding them at bay. And we have to do the same thing in Oregon. We have to do the same thing in California. My friend Jim Walsh, who's the GOP chair of Washington State, he's fighting so hard to do the same thing in Washington State. They're after him. They got the knives out. We have to do that. We have to follow the Trump plan, and we have to execute it here in Oregon. It's so important in the next 12 months that we clean up the ORP from the top down. It's incredibly important. So it's huge. Now, PDX Real, and I told you before we knew anything about it, Angela Todd was like my right-hand person at Free Oregon. And but her husband was convicted for trafficking child rape porn videos. He was convicted for sex trafficking. He was deported from Thailand. They ran a porn website together, and within that porn website business, that's where they were dealing and trafficking child porn. They ran that together. That's why he was in Thailand. So all this stuff, I'm not making it up. There's all the documents are there. There's emails that show him requesting the porn that he was looking for, and trying to making deals for it. He was deported. He was arrested multiple times, multiple parole violations. Not a good guy at all. Someone you do not want near your children or near your family or near your home. And Angela Todd has stayed with him through all this. And my only logical explanation is because I don't listen to what Angela says about it. I don't listen to what other people say about it. Angela Todd stays with him for, in my opinion, because she's into it as well. That to me is obvious. They long before politics, they were together and they were into it. And so I just don't believe that somehow she's a victim of this guy either, as they're still together and they're business partners at PDX Real. And so, again, with the context of what I'm telling you about, they look for the bad people because they can manipulate them. The bad people want attention. They want power. They want money. And so these people are easily manipulated to be given that as reward for lying and cheating and stealing, which is essentially what they do and what they ask them to do. And that's why I think PDX Real has been selected by the caucus, and then therefore the ORP, because the caucus has total control over the leadership of the ORP, because Connie Welchel is not a leader, period. She's scared. She's a little lamb. And when she became chair, it's the same thing as having David Brock Smith as chair, or Edtl as chair, or Kevin Mannix as chair. People that, again, they're not rhinos, they're communists. And so we have to understand that this is the challenge that we're facing. This is what we're up against. And knowing the only thing about the post that I said yesterday was Jason Fields, who's running for commissioner in Yamhill County, and I know Jason very well. I followed that post up with, because he's on that list. His PAC has paid her $5,000 or something. And I talked to him, and he's been outspoken publicly about he's a survivor of child abuse in the very same way that the PDX Real has committed child abuse. And he's been publicly outspoken about that. I called him yesterday and I said, dude, you're going to get heat for this. And he called me back and he said, dude, the second I found that out, I fired him. My history, and I said, no, I know, bro. And I was like, I'm so glad to know. And he goes, and the caucus, they screwed me every single time I ran. And I'm like, I know they did, because I was with him every single time he ran for state rep. And so he has my unequivocal endorsement for Commissioner of Yamhill County, and I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of him for standing strong and not falling to the pressures of the caucus when he had the opportunity to. He did not. So I made that very, very clear. So, another thing too is last night we had our ORP debate. Okay.
Yep.
And that was also just really, really sad, because Angela Todd we literally had it moderated by essentially a company owned by known convicted pedophiles. And it was sponsored by, I saw a sponsorship by a company called Project 1776, and it's owned by a guy named Dane Lomax. And Dane Lomax is from Arizona, and I've known Dane a long, long time. He was trying to get into Oregon politics, and he saw a path through me. And for the first year of him trying to get me to help bring him into Oregon politics, I didn't trust him. And then eventually I thought, well, fine, let's go with Dane, let me start working with him. But Dane Lomax is a bad guy. It did turn out that my initial gut instinct on Dane Lomax was correct. He went to prison for 8 years for mortgage fraud, he's just got that history where it's like, I don't know. I mean, we've all done bad things, and I'm not trying to judge, but he's someone to be very wary of.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's a sponsor. And then of course we had David Brocksmith, a bona fide CCP asset, lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So it's pretty sad.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were upset. They were like, I guess it was, $25 or whatever to watch that. And I can't really confirm that. I wasn't here. I was with a client, but a lot of people couldn't even see it. So, shifting gears a little bit here. So, election fraud. So you've worked on that a little bit, right? And
I've been working on it since 2022.
Nice. A lot of people. So I did interview David Clements, and I also interviewed Dr. Frank, and a lot of the responses I got on those videos are prove it. Prove it. What is the strongest piece of evidence that you want people to look at when talking about that topic?
I think that the strongest piece of evidence is the system itself.
Okay.
That's it. It's the system itself.
Vote by mail.
You can't look in. You can't look in. No one can look in. Not even Ed. I remember, again, props to Dwayne Yunker. When he started out, he would call me up and he would say, hey, I'm calling for inquisitions, investigations into our election system. And he goes, and they're stonewalling me. Like, the Republicans are stonewalling me. The Democrats are stonewalling me. The government's stonewalling, the Secretary of State's stonewalling me. I'm a legislature. I should be able to look in. He could not look in. No one can look in. If there's no stronger evidence, you show me stronger evidence than that.
Yeah, public information should be public information.
If it ain't fucking stolen, then why don't you show us what you got? What if the rolls are clean? Why is Tobias Reed not just sending the rolls over to the federal government if he's got anything to worry about? That's it. What else do you need to know? Yes, we have this body of circumstantial evidence across the board. I can tell you for a fact, number one, that in Vaughn v. Loomis, because of vote by mail, and they flood the whole state with ballots, and that's why they do it, is so that there's ballots flying around everywhere, and good people go, oh, I got people's wrong ballot. I'm going to put it back in the return to sender box, and then it'll get returned back to the USPS. The USPS, which is controlled by a left-wing communist union, they're getting all the ballots. And so what do they do with it? We don't know. There's no chain of custody. Why is there no chain of custody? Because they don't fucking want chain of custody.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
You want proof? There's your proof. You think that a casino would handle its money like this? Hell no. And so, I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you think there's no election fraud, you're a fucking idiot at this point. You're just an idiot. You're
Yeah,
a
and a lot of
fucking
people are
idiot.
denying it. They're just like, oh, well, it says that it's 0.0005, blah, blah, blah.
But here's the thing. They're denying it because the state of Oregon has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on getting two words put into everybody's heads: safe and secure.
That's right.
Our
I heard
elections
that.
are safe and secure. Oh, safe and secure. Tobias Reed's propaganda. I saw this last month. He goes, oh, if you want to have the secure elections, just copy Oregon's system. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. We got the best. Best of the best.
Crazy.
That was a tweet that he put out. I was like, oh my God. It's funny, but it's not funny. It's sad that people have become so stupid that they believe it despite all evidence. Oregon, look, I grew up in the city of Portland, born and raised. I lived, when I was a kid, I never lived more than 30 blocks from the river, okay? Like, always within the heart of the city. And I was raised by liberals, like real true liberals who are public school teachers. I mean, it doesn't get more liberal than that. And I never, none of this is liberal. None of this is liberal. This isn't democracy. In a real democracy, you would be able to look inside your system because you are a voter.
Right.
Like,
you want to know, you want to look, you want to see what's going
look.
on. Yeah.
There is no looking. And I had an interview. I got interviewed, what was it, last week, I think it was. Like, time flies. I think it was last week, by the New York Times. And the New York Times was like, well, you're the chief petitioner of IP 37, and we want to ask you questions. And I'm like, the New York Times, I know what you're going to do. I told her this. I said, you know what I know? Here's what I know. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to write total bullshit that you can't, you didn't, and you won't confirm is true. I know you're going to do that because you're not a journalist. You're a scumbag. But yeah, I'll answer any questions you have. And she laughed a little bit, but then and I said it jokingly, but I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And we did the interview. I got the article. I found it. I got alerted to it. I pulled it down. I read it. And she writes in the New York Times that vote by mail in Oregon favors Republicans.
What? What?
I got it. I have it.
Crazy.
I got the PDF of it. It's hilarious. Favored Republicans at the beginning. She said at the beginning, oh, we favored Republicans. Republicans dominated with vote by mail in the beginning. I'm like, this is a complete total lie. I suspected she would write lies, but I didn't think it would be that bold. That never happened. There was never any Republicans were favored in any way, shape, or form by vote by mail.
Well, I mean, ever since vote by mail came into play, there's not been a Republican governor, correct?
Correct. And we've also never had a Republican senator. Ron Wyden defeated the Republican senator that we had at the time and never looked back. Won every single Senate election ever since, and it kept growing and growing and growing. Our system, if you understand the election process, if you understand the election system, and you understand the laws and the legislation that formed our election system, like I do, you would have zero doubt in your mind that our elections are 100% completely rigged.
Yeah, and I want people to keep looking themselves. Like, misinformation sucks. They're trying to feed us lies, and they just believe it. People are just lemmings. You know what I mean? They just follow people off of the cliffs. What, you know, there's very few people like you that are out there going, wait a minute, is this true? Let me find out. You know, there's not enough people like that out there doing that. So, you know, and that's what I say to Josephine County. People, do your research. Don't just take people's word for it. Don't take memes, you know, headlines on social media, especially. It's like social media is an engine of misinformation and hatred. And that's what I'm seeing.
It truly is. And it's a silo. And so, you know, my parents, for example, they're still liberals, but actually they're now progressives. I think they've drank way too much Kool-Aid. And I think that booster shots get to your brain. My stepfather died a couple months after his third booster shot. And then my mom finally stopped taking booster shots because I said, Mom, no more. Sorry, no more. Because I love my mom. I love my parents. I don't care if they're liberal. I love them.
Yeah, sure.
And they care that I'm conservative and Republican MAGA, but I think they still love me too. For a time they did not. I don't think they did, but I think they do again now. But nonetheless, the reality is that is that people, I think it's very hard for people to swallow the big fat red pill. And for me, I've gone through this crazy learning process from 2020 to now, learning about politics. Because before I was like everybody else, I watched the news and I thought I knew. I thought I knew what was going on. And when I have conversations with people like my parents who are very politically, my mom is the secretary for the state League of Women Voters. I mean, she's very active in this, in the political world. But I can tell you that like I not one of them have actually read the legislation.
Wow.
They just, you have to read it. You have to understand ORS. You have to see how that legislation is implemented, because they're pro-democracy, but there is no democracy here.
No.
And ranked choice voting is it's just Kool-Aid, man. Like they're drinking Kool-Aid, and that's why I like people like Seada Thompson, who was the vice chair for the Multnomah County Democrat Party, and she's a black lesbian from Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely love her. She's fantastic. And she reached out because she started questioning within the Democrat Party as the vice chair of Multnomah County Democrats. Why are we transing kids? Hold the phone. What? Wait a minute here. Why? And she was ostracized, canceled, and sent out. And I was one of the first Republican players in the state of Oregon to go meet with her and find out what happened. And she said, nothing can red pill you faster than moving to Portland. She's like, because you can't make this stuff up. And I think it's hard though. I think when you realize that when you're open-minded to the facts, it's very, very difficult to comprehend. I think it's very difficult to comprehend that we do not live in a democracy, that we truly, when you look at how the state laws in Oregon, Washington, California defy our Constitution, we don't live in the United States either. Yeah. And so this is a troubling time. And I think people have a very hard time accepting the idea that our elections are rigged.
I mean, and people just want to hide under a rock somewhere. They either want to hide under a rock, or they want to move out of Oregon, or they don't want to vote. They don't want to get up and vote. It's like it's happening all over the place. And social media is basically promoting that. Like people need to stay stupid, and it's crazy. I can see it myself.
Yeah, no, we need people to wake up. We need the same thing we had in 2020. We need people to wake up, and we need people to wake up their minds and shake out of that trance that so many of us are in. But I'll tell you, I think being in Portland, being a business owner in the heart of Portland, I'm surrounded by Democrats even today. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how close the Democrats are to that I know how close they are to like coming over to the other side and realizing what's happening.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them do.
Yep.
I think a lot of them do.
Yeah, and in the end, the Democrats a lot. They're just people too. They're members of our community.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to get to know them sometimes, and I mean, I know that sounds, a lot of people are going to be like, what, Jordan, like, are you serious? Because there's a lot of hatred going on, they want us to hate each other. They want us to have a war, essentially.
They do.
Anyway,
we have
Ben,
to, you're 100% right. We got to cut through this. We got to cut through it.
Yep, exactly. Because I mean,
they're not the enemy.
No, we're all humans. I mean, we got to just work together and figure out what the real corruption is. And it's out there. So anyway, Ben Edtl, everybody, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm just getting started with interviewing people. I'm a new podcast. Hopefully, hopefully I'm going to get a lot of hits now with you being on here.
Well, send me the thing. We'll get it shared out. Okay.
All right. I appreciate it, Ben. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Keep fighting, and we'll do the same down here in Joco.
And I'll keep standing with you.